Oh, hi everyone. Whoops. Hi everyone, it's me, Skelton, with yet another vlog chat for you. I'm wearing my horse t-shirt again. A lot of people ask me, how many horse shirts do you own? I must own over a dozen, I think, because I love horses. I grew up riding horses. So one of my favorite things, I like to talk about, I'll try to keep this as concise and as, well communicated as possible, if that's the right expression. It's so hard to do this because there's so many things I have to cover in this. I don't know, but anyway, I hope it won't be too boring for you. I like to talk about. Okay, so first of all, I'm an ISFP, and I would like to talk about the differences between the INFP and the ISFP because they're very similar yet very different. And so for the longest time, I thought I was an INFP. I tested as an INFP. Now, I did this test back in 2012 is when I discovered it, Myers-Briggs, and I did it online, and I tested as an INFP. Now, I think there's a reason why this can happen. It's because ISFPs are FI dominant, and so are INFPs. So first of all, our dominant function is the same. We both have introverted feeling as our dominant function. Also, ISFPs tend to be the most intuitive of the sensing types. So we're more aligned with intuition than most sensors. And I think that's why there's so much confusion as to the two personality types, because I think a lot of INFPs can type as ISFPs and vice versa. So the ISFP, the model of ISFP is the artist, and that does resonate with me, but the model of the INFP is the dreamer. So those can go, those are very similar ideologies in a way, because, people that are dreamers also tend to be very creative and like to do things like that. But the way we approach life is somewhat different. So I'm going to first share the differences that I noticed, and we'll talk a little bit about FI, or dominant function. So the cognitive functions that we share, FI is introverted feeling, and that has to do with our core values. And here's a little illustration of FI. So this is how it works. So this is how we process information. FI is very subjective, and our personal values are very subjective. So introverted feeling is based on the personal feeling that we get from things and how it relates to the world. So with FI dominant, because we're very subjective, we tend to see things sometimes in black and white. And so we see the people who don't align with our values as the bad people, the people that are on our side as the good people. It can go very much that way, and I do have a hard time, trying to see the other point of view, although I can sometimes, if I really struggle, I can do that. But ironically, even though INFPs are considered very open-minded, and so are ISFPs to a degree, we're very, very much subjective in how we see our personal values, and our beliefs are very much very important to us. And that's how we see the world and through that filter. So that's our dominant way of looking at the world. So we're drawn to interests that allow us to consider good and meaningful things that express our personal values into the community at large. So that's why I desire to have a platform, because I feel like I have a voice and I want to say something. Or I like to do my music and I want it to be heard, not necessarily famous, but just get it out there so people can hear what I have to say. And the weaknesses here with FI dominant is we have difficulty with fitting in due to our outside, dismissing outside standards. They're sort of nonconformist, I suppose. Difficulty solving complex or entrenched problems and overlook opportunities. Yes, sometimes we miss the forest for the trees. And it's sort of like there's a high pressure also, says, to clearly define ourselves, maintain our own identity, integrity, and values. That can lead to self-doubt, impulsive behavior, lashing out, or knee-jerk. Yes, I do that a lot. That's why I had to confront my church when they went crazy, crazy liberal, So with FI dominant function, we're so driven by how we feel about things and our value system, and when it's challenged, we rise to the occasion. Although now here's first differentiation that I'd like to make with INFPs and ISFPs. ISFPs tend to not be as afraid of conflict. So an ISFP would probably walk right into the fire and speak their mind, where an INFP might contemplate the future possibilities of doing so. And that's why I wish I had more of the INFPs, their introverted sense, intuition, I mean extroverted intuition, because they can see the future possibilities of things, where ISFPs just go right in there and stand up. But INFPs also, similar to ISFPs, will fight for what they believe in, and that's a very good thing. Another where we differ is, I think, our communicative style. INFPs tend to be very soft-spoken, very cool and relaxed, where ISFPs are a little bit more exuberant. We can be mistaken for extroverts. Oh yes, you won't believe how many people think I'm an extrovert. So the ESFP and the ISFP can be very hard to decipher as well, because we both have that exuberance, I think. And I like to use big hand movements sometimes or something. And I think this is just these are all, by the way, these are all just generalities. No one is 100% INFP. No one is 100% ISFP. We're all individuals, but there are commonalities with these types. So I do notice whenever I look at an INFP vlog, it's going to be very relaxed and very chill and very soft and very different like that. So yeah, so ISFPs. So here's another thing, our goal setting. INFPs seem to want to leave their mark on humanity by doing, something, in terms of helping the world. They want to fix the world, whereas ISFPs, we just want to leave our mark on it. So, and I'm not saying that, this means we're selfish. It's just that ISFPs are very much about doing, and we want to leave our mark on the world. We have all these goals we have, and we want to leave a legacy. And INFPs do too, but they want to leave a different kind of legacy. They want to do it through humanitarianism and charities or something. Not that both types can do that. It's just that ISFPs are more looking about like, oh yeah, I'm a musician. I want to get my songs out there. I want to record. I want to get my hands dirty. And they're very much about hands-on approach, whereas INFPs are a little bit more reserved, and they're less about themselves and more about how can I help fix the world, and ISFPs are like, how can I leave my mark on the world? So that's our difference there. And I think another difference between INFPs and ISFPs is that how do I put this? I think ISFPs are a more down-to-earth cousin of the INFP, and I say that with a lot of love. I say that because INFPs, like, an INFP might be looking at a bowl of cereal and they'll see the sea of humanity floating around and their cornflakes, whereas an ISFP, we just don't do that. We're much more concrete. We like concrete stuff, although we might like, philosophy or, theology or stuff like that. It's just that our approach to it is much more sort of not quite as esoteric. We're just more down to earth and like the facts, but we also love the flavor. And so another thing is that, so because but if you look at the INFP and the ISFPs, the other cognitive functions, that's where we just go our separate ways. So with ISFPs, our second function is extroverted sensing, whereas INFPs, their second function is extroverted intuition, I believe. I think. Okay. But ISFPs, our third function is introverted intuition. So again, we got that intuitive sense, and our weakest function for ISFPs is extroverted thinking. So I'll explain. So how I think as an ISFP, I see life in pictures, but I also see, I make connections because I'm slightly more intuitive than most of the sensing types. I do see connections and patterns with things, but I also like facts. But in other words, so I'll give you an example. I was looking at a Christmas tree. It was poorly decorated. And it was in some shopping mall, and half the lights weren't working. I said, "Oh boy, if that doesn't sum up the year 2020, I don't know what does." And I was thinking, well, that might be my extroverted sensing there. I could be wrong, but I feel like it's something an ISFP might think. Also, I associate certain people with different music. Like at work, there's this, I don't know why, there's some lady at work, and I associate her with a certain song, but there's really no reason to, because she never said she liked the song, or never said that there's no reason that that song should be attributed to her. But when I hear that song, I think of her. And because I do play music at work, and so I guess I get these little images of people and things and put them together. Another thing that I tend to do as an ISFP, well, I think, like I say, I have this creative drive. I have to be creating something. I love doing, I love songwriting, I love singing, I love yodeling, but I'm always looking at ways to improve upon it. So it's not enough for me to just do it. I have to always make it better. And another thing, if when I do covers of songs, if there's no way for me to make the cover my own, or if I don't think I can put my own spin on it, I just don't do it. I don't touch anything that I can't make my own, because I don't want to be just, I don't see the point in doing a cover if you're going to do it just like someone else. Although at the same time, I want to stay true to the integrity of the original, but I don't want to just do it because, if I can't put my own stamp on it, then I avoid it. So, and I don't know if this is an ISFP thing or not, but that's just what I do. And also as ISFP, I love dressing in costumes. I like putting on, costumes, experimenting with different clothing styles. I don't think INFPs would do that as much. Or even though we're both about authenticity, I think for the INFP, they might do that, but I think they're more subtle in how they do that. They wouldn't necessarily want to be in costumes or do that sort of thing. And another thing with being an ISFP, well, as I said before, my main goal is my creative drive, and I love beauty and aesthetics. And I think another thing for ISFPs, I think we're actually even though we can be messy because we're the artist, we actually, because we're so focused on symmetry, I noticed that I can't have a dirty room. Like, I don't like things, I like to stack things in line, and I don't like things just scattered everywhere, but I'm not into organizing. I hate organizing things, but I like things to look pretty. So I don't care if they're organized or not, just make it look pretty. So I have to paint my room and make it look pretty, and I have to put up nice pictures, and I have to, do all those things, make my environment pretty. When I walk in at Christmas time, when I see a Christmas tree, I have a million different ideas of how I want to decorate it. I just think about, oh, I can do this, I can do that. Well, how can I make my masterpiece, with a Christmas tree? And I'm not saying INFPs wouldn't do it. Of course they might. But I just think that ISFPs were much more in the aesthetics of beauty and in the concrete, what can we do to how can we manipulate our environment and make it nicer? So I think I've covered most of what I want to say. I've left a lot of stuff out. I haven't gone into how I discovered my type. I thought I was an INFP until I got typed by Eric Strauss, and I was mistyped as an ISFJ, and I said, oh no, that's not it. By Frank James, by the way, who did a terrible job. Bless his heart, but he just didn't type me very well. And then Typology Gifts typed me as an ISFJ, and then they retyped me as an INFP because of my theological arguments were too scatterbrained for that. And so finally I said, this does not line up. I'm not an INFP. I'm not an ISFJ. What could I be? And so it bothered me until I got my real type. It bothered me. I think if I were really an ISFJ, I would have left it alone. I wouldn't care anymore because, oh, okay. But if something conflicts with me and that's not me, and I know it's not me, then I can't rest until I find what is me. And I know all of this is theory, and I know that Myers-Briggs is not 100%. It's not a science, really. It's just, it's it's based loosely on Carl Jung's theory of 8 cognitive functions, and I know all that. But for me, because I enjoy Myers-Briggs, I just want to find out what type am I really, and how can I go from there. Well, when I found out I was an ISFP, it just really made me feel so much better, and I could finally, I discovered who I was. I did all these videos about being an INFP, and I thought, oh, I'm a unicorn because I'm a conservative INFP. And it's not that there aren't conservative INFPs out there, but I will tell you, they're very rare. Okay, and personality should not be correlated with politics, but it can be, because if you look at the cognitive functions, the way people see the world, I think it can influence how they see political and religious views. But as an ISFP, we're not all that rare. I think we're like, I don't know, 14% of the population or something. We're not terribly rare, but we're not the most common type. So you won't find ISFPs, on every street corner. The most common personality type, I believe, is the ISFJ. But ironically, I don't meet many of them, at least not where I am. So where I am, I think I meet more ENFJs or ENTPs or something like that. I don't meet many ISFJs. Well, I do meet some of them. But the stereotype about an ISFJ is they're a nurse and they're duty fulfillers and all that. So I think I've rambled on long enough. I just wanted to share, my feeling about what it's like to be an ISFP, and how I'm so glad I finally found my type, and and I'm glad that I could figure that out, because INFPs are just different. They're similar but different, and we don't always see things the same way. But anyway, folks, I hope y'all enjoyed that. I'll try to do more videos later. I'm doing more music videos, of course, and you can check me out on my website, meetskeletonsplace.com. Bye!